Okay, so the next topic is pilgrimage. So, you could be asked when it comes to pilgrimage about different places. So, the two main ones are Lourdes and the Holy Land, but you also have some knowledge of one of the Welsh ones, or be able to draw upon sort of like an idea of them in your answers. So, I'm going to cover two of them in detail, and I'm going to mention about one of the sort of the Welsh pilgrimage sites. But first of all, right, I want to talk about why pilgrimage is important. So, the reason why a pilgrimage is important is because, number one, it allows us to develop our relationship with God. And the reason for this is that when on pilgrimage, we shut off the outside world and we just focus on sort of serving and serving God, or developing our faith. So you can say about that when we go to the Holy Land, okay? You go to the Holy Land, you could visit the Basilica of the Nativity, essentially the Church of the Nativity. And this can remind us of sort of like the fact that God sent Jesus for us, and that allowed atonement to take place, and that develops our relationship with God because it makes us feel thankful, or at least it should do. The next one is that pilgrimage gives us an opportunity to ask God for help. And the reason for this is that a major feature of pilgrimage is making prayers of supplication. So, for example, in Lourdes, all right, we make prayers to Mary, okay, and she acts as the intercessor to ask God to support us, to help us, okay? You say we do those at the in Lourdes, when we were at the grotto. Can't remember the word then. Now, so the next one is that it gives us an opportunity to show devotion to God. And the reason for that is that, like I said at the beginning, we're shutting off from our everyday lives. We're spending money to go on pilgrimage. That it takes a great sort of deal of effort to go on pilgrimage. So there's a way that we can show devotion to God, but also when we're actually there, we've got to show devotion to Him. So, for example, in Lourdes, all right, you can talk about the blessed procession, when we sort of go and we pray to God, whether we're led by sort of Jesus or whatever, we hold the Blessed Sacrament with us. It's just an idea of us showing devotion to God. You can talk about the Holy Land there as well, all right, about sort of the prayer and Mass is sort of like a big feature of it, and during that we show sort of love and devotion to God during those on pilgrimage. The next one is that pilgrimage helps us to unite with other Catholics in love and service to God. Why? Because you've got Catholics from all over the world that come to these pilgrimage sites, and you can sort of come together, all right, which helps to strengthen your faith, make you feel sort of more connected, more universal, more Catholic. Now, sort of like, so therefore you can say just about people from all over the world visit the Holy Land, or visit Lourdes and that type of thing, okay? And you can also say about Mass. You can say, therefore, we celebrate Mass together, which is also another way that we are united with all of those people. So when we really do come together in our love and devotion for God. And the final one, all right, that is that it helps us to show special devotion, not love, devotion, not worship, devotion to Mary. All right, and you can say it was called that. A lot of the features when it comes to pilgrimage sites are to look at her role, and then how we can ask her for support, or we can look to her as sort of like an example to follow. So therefore, that's why people visit Lourdes, all right, and sort of look at sort of what the Our Lady did there when she visited Bernadette and that type of idea. But also in the Holy Land, when you go and visit the Basilica of the Nativity, you're going to see it because of her contribution as well. All right, Jesus just didn't appear. All right, when Mary gave birth to him. All right, and this sort of reminds us of her acceptance of God's plan and God's role in her life, so can inspire us. So that's why it's important. The reason why it's not important is that you can say that you can do all these things at home. You don't have to be on pilgrimage to develop your relationship with God, all right? You don't have to be on pilgrimage to ask God for help, and you don't have to be on pilgrimage to show devotion to God either, okay? So that's sort of like the alternative arguments. It's common sense how you explain them, so I'm not going into that. Now, the actual places of pilgrimage, all right? Now, if we talk about the first one, the main one in Lourdes, okay? So, when it comes to Lourdes, obviously Lourdes is where Our Lady appeared to Bernadette, okay, and told her to dig in the mud, essentially, all right, and what's called a spring appeared, and this is meant to have sort of healing qualities, right? She also told her to build a church there, all right, where the grotto is, so that people could come to the site. Now, as a result of that, this is what they do when they're in Lourdes. So, first things first, right? They think that the place has healing qualities, so therefore they attend the spring, okay? The spring that between Our Lady the Virgin Mary said, okay, to Bernadette about, with the idea that it may be able to heal, I don't know what that is, to heal them, all right, from sort of ailments or anything that's wrong, or just sins, okay? They also visit and pray, it was called, in the sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes, all right, and worship at the grotto. Remember grotto, that's a key thing, okay? They was called pray and worship at the grotto. Not worship Mary, but they pray to Mary and worship God, all right? That's where they sort of go to do it, particularly they'll make prayers to Mary there because she's the intercessor, because that is where sort of the belief that her vision appeared. Then Catholics will take their sick relatives, okay, to bathe in the baths, all right, or they will fill their water bottles with holy water, okay, to take home the belief that, once again, that the baths, that they have that healing quality. Now, talking about healing, talking about getting clean. Well, if you're getting clean in a religious sense, we're getting rid of sin. So they go to the sacrament of reconciliation, and this is quite complicated. Do you know where they go to see it? In the Chapel of Reconciliation, or the Reconciliation Chapel, okay? So, it's a major feature of when on pilgrimage. There are then two processions. One in the day, takes place about 4:30, called the Blessed Procession. And this one is led by Holy Communion, all right, by Jesus. And there's a real sort of focus then on praying, singing hymns, meditation, all that sort of stuff, all right, towards Jesus, okay, towards God, asking him for help, praising him, etc. Then there's the torchlight Marian procession. So this is the one that's led by Mary, okay, and it shows sort of Mary's significance to Catholics, all right, and also gives us an opportunity to pray the rosary, all that sort of stuff. All of these are linked to the idea of petitioning, asking Mary to help us by going and speaking to God on our behalf and what we need sort of to be improved. The final one is that they go to Mass, okay? So the Mass sort of takes place at the end of the procession on a daily basis at the grotto. Why? Because it's the most major form of Christian worship, okay? So it takes place. Now then, when it comes to the Holy Land, so essentially, right, this is the features of a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. You've got, right, it's all to do with Jesus' life. So if worst come to worst now, right, just think, okay, key events of Jesus' life, they go and see them. So first of all, they visit the church / Basilica of the Nativity to remember Jesus' incarnation, Jesus' birth. They visit Mount Zion. The reason they do this is where sort of the Last Supper took place. It was the first time that Jesus taught us the Mass. They visit Golgotha. Why? Because that's where Jesus died, okay? The next one, they visit the Chapel of the Ascension. Guess what happened there? Jesus' ascension, okay? It's supposed to have, we ascended to heaven. They visit the River Jordan. Why? Because it's where the belief where Jesus was baptized by John. They visit Cana, okay? And when at Cana, there's where Jesus' first miracle took place. And you can also add to that people renew their marriage vows there. They'd also visit, okay, the church or the Basilica of the Nativity and the Basilica of the Annunciation as a way of showing special sort of devotion to Mary as well, okay, which makes the Holy Land a Marian procession, a Marian pilgrimage site as well. And finally, they celebrate Mass on a daily basis. Why? Because it's the main form of Christian worship. Now, those Welsh examples, okay, they want you to know about Holywell, all right, and Cardigan. Now, I'm going to focus on Holywell, okay, and the reason for that is that there's a sort of a similarity, okay, between that and Lourdes, because it's like baths involved and things like that, okay. So when sort of with Holywell, all right, first of all, they make praise of sort of worship and doing to God, all right, so they pray to God essentially, right. What do? They pray a specific pilgrimage prayer, but they also what's called, say, a decade of the rosary, okay, so they pray the rosary while sort of, it's when they walk around sort of the pool, okay, there's like a well there or a pool when they walk around it, okay, so if you can remember that, brilliant. But they pray the rosary, all right, so they direct prayers towards Mary as well. Then, all right, people who go there on pilgrimage, they bathe in the pools. Why? Because they believe to have had sort of like, or believe to have sort of like healing qualities, okay. But so if you can remember specific detail of that, they dip in there 3 times, okay? They dip in the pool 3 times, and the reason for that is that Winifred, okay, the woman who sort of like this is all sort of linked to Saint Winifred, who's still sort of dedicated to God, that supposedly she asked what's called 3 times, okay, 3 times to sort of for God to help her, all right? So it sort of remembers that. Now, They also kneel upon what's called Bueno's stone, okay? And the reason for this is that it's sort of like they ask, it says sort of this specific praise or whatever, because he is the saint that supposedly taught Winifred, okay? And it's like the idea that we sort of kneel on a stone and we're going to ask God there, or whatever. It just sort of links it all together. Then you've got the idea that they go to St. Padre Pio's national shrine, and it's sort of like a beautiful garden, so they pray, they relax, they meditate, that sort of stuff. And then the day finishes with Mass, all right? Why? It's the major form of Christian worship, okay? The type of Mass is actually called High Mass. Now, really focus upon one of them, okay? Lourdes in particular, or the Holy Land, really focus on one of them, because I think they'll ask you one pilgrimage site, but just make sure you have a knowledge of the other ones too, okay? Because you could be asked if it's a Welsh example, all right, just to be able to drop that in, whether it be to the explain question or somewhere along the line. So remember about the pools, if you want, that they go there, they dip in the pool, it was called that, they go, and the pool's supposed to have healing qualities, and they pray a decade of the rosary. So there we are. That's the one key thing that you can take from it about Holywell if you can't remember all the details.